You see, as we are all Linux users, we are always debating over which is the best Linux distribution for gaming, productivity, video editing, or just normal home use. But what we should actually talk about is which is the most reliable and dependable operating system which can get your work done when you need it to without wasting time to tinkering the system. Because that's the main motive, isn't it? You're installing a Linux distribution to escape that Microsoft hell, if you consider that hell, and you can get your work done on Linux. But that Linux distribution is supposed to be really, really nice. It should be trustworthy and dependable and reliable. If you set it up once, it should be like that for over the months or maybe years. It should not break, it should be really stable, and updates must not mess over some applications, dependencies, or all the Linux loophole we are all into. And that is where Linux Mint Debian Edition comes in. And particularly the Linux Mint Debian Edition 7, Gigi. Well, that's the code name. But this one is actually awesome. Well, we're gonna talk about everything in this video, I know, and let's get started. Well, I am a script here, so yeah, let's begin. Okay, so recently, as we know, Linux Mint 22.2 Zara was released, which had awesome features. A new fingerprint support feature, which was damn good. One of the first in the Linux distribution market. Or to be honest, one of the most stable and reliable one, because a lot of other distributions also give fingerprint support, but that's not that good. So all the features which are in Linux Mint 22 Zara will also be delivered on LMDE 7, except one, HWE, which is Hardware Enablement Kernel. Well, it is nothing almost like a Linux kernel which supports popular and new CPUs and GPUs in hardware, which you probably not have, the way too latest CPUs and GPUs, because they're not even properly mainstream on laptops or desktops right now. So what's the meaning of that particular feature? Yeah, for proper workstations and organizations who rely on the latest tech, for them it might be a drawback, but it'll come soon. And then we have, for the first time in the LMDE series, OEM installations. Now, if you don't know what OEM is, well, you see, whenever you purchase a laptop, an operating system is already installed in it. When you open it up, it directly goes into the setup process. You don't have to properly install everything from the beginning. You just have to set it up. You see, Linux Mint has a mixed set of features like normal cinema desktop environments, they're just normal cinema applications. But Linux Mint in particular has some GNOME applications as well, or GDK themes and everything else. Like, it's a mix which works flawlessly. But there was one problem before, and that was libITWATA and GDK4. This problem was really bad. Like, some GNOME applications were not properly looking as good as they do on GNOME desktop, but now they do, because now we have proper libITWATA and GDK4 support. Nice. And yeah, by the way, you see, there has been one problem which some people see it as a problem, some people see it as the future, and it is Wayland. So Wayland has been the most controversial topic of Linux Mint, because Linux Mint sort of decided to go towards Wayland and using Wayland as mainstream display server. And that's actually a good thing, because now these days Wayland actually gives better performance on NVIDIA GPUs sometimes, and it feels pretty smooth. Like, the smoothness of using Wayland over Xorg is awesome. And Linux Mint, with all of its awesome functionality, power, and traditional desktop, which sort of feels a little way too traditional and outdated, works good. It just works. Like, it might not look that good, but if you just want to get your work done the most efficient way, Linux Mint is the answer. And if you want a reliable system which will last for months or maybe years, and you just want the peace of mind that this operating system will not break from regular updates, LMDE is the answer.
And now this is time for the segue to our sponsor, DataSurf, the smart, local-first browser that is built for creators, dreamers, or anyone who actually thinks on the internet. And everything I researched for the video before the pre-production was done inside DataSurf, just like this. And most browsers track you, but DataSurf doesn't. DataSurf is a local-first browser. So yes, I use DataSurf, and it's not just a browser for me. It's a one-stop destination for my workspace. It is like my second brain. And you can check DataSurf with the link in the description. And let's continue the video.
But you see, there's one thing, the main key difference between LMDE and Linux Mint. Well, the absence of Ubuntu, which is awesome for LMDE, is great, but there's one more thing, lack of way to mainstream updates. Like, you might not see so many updates as you see on Linux Mint. The system updates will be less as compared to Linux Mint. And it's a good thing because you see, a lot of updates sometimes mess up the kernel or sometimes the repository dependencies. Why? There are only few updates that are actually important, and that is what LMDE focuses on. You're gonna see only the most important updates in every once in a while, not the frequent ones like Windows. And that means Linux Mint implementation will be really stable. Now let's talk about the real thing. You might think that Linux Mint Debian-based 7 is not that great of an update because the main key difference is now it is going to be based on Debian 13 Trixie with most probably a new Linux kernel, hopefully. And it's going to get some features like the fingerprint support and better libIDVATA and GDK4 theming sort of application support. But where's the real deal? What's the real update? Because all of them are under the hood updates or maybe just few mainstream updates, but these tiny little stats actually are going in the right direction where we want it to. We just want a reliable, trustworthy, dependable operating system which can just get our work done. And that is where Linux Mint has been the King Kong of Linux. Even if DistroWatch says that Catchy OS is the best Linux distribution, #1. And I partially agree with that because Catchy OS actually is awesome. It's based on Arch with multiple desktop environment choices, especially my favorite Hyperland one. And maybe it wasn't Hyperland, it was maybe Neri or the Tiling Window Manager one. It just works for anyone who wants a proper functional, not so stable sometimes, but amazing performance, stability in heavy work. You can go with Catchy OS. And that is why it is actually #1 on DistroWatch. It has a customized version of Linux kernel which is really smooth and awesome in performance for especially games or video editing and heavy tasks. And it is optimized with multiple patches and it has Arch as the base. It is just too good to be true. Well, I tried it. Wait, let me just do one thing. But you see, recently AUR repositories were some sort of under an attack. Like there was sort of an attack on Arch user repository packages. Some people were facing really serious issues and things like that sometimes make me feel like, why should I risk my very, very important data like right now in Fedora with data served as my browser, and it has one of the most important things stored in my laptop. You know, your important personal details and financial stuff. You don't want to risk it. And Linux is supposed to be awesome in security and stability. But if you accidentally install a package which has some kind of malware or a virus, it's going to be a disaster. And that is why I suggest to go with Capitano as your antivirus. A particular video, a dedicated video is on my channel. I'm going to link it in the description. You can watch it right now. And yeah, with that being said, I hope you enjoyed the video. Like, I know you feel like this video was not so great because the particular LMDE 7 update does not have much to offer as compared to the latest version of GNU 49 or Ubuntu's latest version or Fedora's, because all of those are big beasts, while Linux Mint is the King Kong of Linux. It's already at the pinnacle of stability and reliability, and it just needs to fix the petty tiny issues in order to make it properly amazing. Addition of new features is just awesome. You get fingerprint support, better GDK4 and libIDVATA support, but not having way too huge and massive update which might change the overall look and feel is sort of okay-ish for me. Like, LMDE gets the work done and that is why we use it for. Just right now I'm using Fedora with GNOME. Why? Because I like the desktop environment GNOME, and Fedora is just amazing with its synergy with GNOME. The sync between Fedora's RPM packages and vanilla GNOME is just beautiful and flawless. That's the reason I use it for. But it's not as reliable and dependable as Linux Mint. But I like the look and feel of GNOME desktop. That's the only reason I'm using Arch or Fedora or some other operating system. Well, yeah, you can actually install GNOME operating system, GNOME desktop on Linux Mint. a dedicated video about it on a dedicated video is already on the channel. You can watch later, or well, the video's literally ended. Why are you still watching me? I'm just babbling about some stuff. Well, yeah, with that being said, I hope you have enjoyed the video, and let me know in the comments if you have any suggestions to create videos in the future or content ideas. And I'll meet you next video. And yeah, I'm trying to figure out, like, I'm planning to start freelancing. Freelance in like video editing and a little designing. Because video editing and designing is something I like to do. I know it's exhaustive, but freelancing is just feels like the way to go. So if you have any suggestions, let me know in the comments and I'll meet you next video. Till then, I'm signing out.